Now on BBC Two, this is why we all want to present Top Gear.
Tonight on Top Gear, a Vauxhall that bites, the legendary Lotus Carlton, Formula One experience that you can buy, and my guide to the auction game. But first, it's back to the 80s and it's Top of the Pops.
Now eyes down for a full house, number 13, unlucky for some, Duran Duran.
The 80s, an era of excess, large expense accounts, booming shares, red braces and Duran Duran. It was a decade with a big is best attitude, but times have changed. Now less is more. Second-hand prices have brought supercars to within reach of us all. This immaculate Lamborghini Countach was once worth over £100,000, but today it's yours for the price of a high-spec Mazda. As Macmillan once said, we've never had it so good.
Bad boys! Bad boys! Bad boys!
Although Gandini's designs found sanctuary on many a teenager's bedroom wall, how will the Countach survive the new millennium? Well, I'll just have to find out. Now, I thought that I'd driven the hardest machine Lamborghini had to offer, the Diablo GT, but the Countach has its horns firmly rooted in its maker's agricultural past. As its angular intent reflects, this Countach is a direct descendant from Satan's Semi. When you find enough space to access the demon within, the results are horrific. The power range through the gears is awesome. But because of its huge bulk, you have to be wary of slipping the tail end out into the next county. But earlier models weren't as powerful as you might expect. This 1982 5000S comes with 385 brake, which is plenty, but it was only until the late 80s, when Chrysler took over, that Lamborghinis grew fins and extra power to feed bigger egos. Good examples range between £30,000 and £40,000, and although prices have plummeted, don't expect average running costs. The V12 still needs an expensive fettle every 5,000 miles, as do the brakes and the heavy clutch, which reminds me, you need big muscles to drive this thing for more than half an hour. Oof, mama.
A bit tough on the thighs, Vince?
Just a tad.
Look, you have a little rest while I take the Ferrari for a twirl. Back in 1984, Lamborghini's Italian neighbours were keen to replace their 512 VDI to attract a bigger slice of the supercar boom. So, in an effort to make both city slicker and rockstar join the loads of money club, Pininfarina self-indulgently designed this extravagantly named Ferrari Testarossa. Redhead to you and me.
And like Vicky's Countach, the Ferrari's flagship quickly became a victim of its own success, with the list price doubling from £63,000 to £127,000 between 1985 and 1992.
But times have changed, and now for between £30,000 and £40,000, you can turn many a Miami Vice viewer's dreams into reality. And this Ferrari is certainly more driver-friendly than Vicky's heavy Bologna bus.
It's very easy to be overwhelmed with the nostalgia that surrounds the Testarossa. Its low, wide stance arrests the eyes of onlookers, but they won't know it's coming. Even though a 380 brake flat 12 fills the rear, it's frustratingly quiet.
And because Ferrari's new clientele were of the corpulent variety, the Testarossa came complete with a carpeted parcel shelf and suspension suitably damped for the most voluminous of wallets.
Its graceful lines never stole the Countach's wide boy image, and it wasn't one of Ferrari's best handling models, but it was every schoolboy's dream.
So you no longer have to remortgage the house, the husband and the children to have a slice of 80s supercar exotica.
Mind you, the cost of keeping it going might be another matter. And in any case, if the price is still too high, we'll be back later with some more Italian temptations.
Where's the cheapest place to buy used cars? A car auction. Why? Because the market is knackered at the moment and auctions are where the trade buy their stock. So you cut out the middleman and, more importantly, his lump of profit. Oh dear, I hear you say. Auctions are dumping grounds for some of the most appalling scrap ever to disgrace tarmac. Well, that's simply not the case. Follow our simple guide and I'll show you how to buy your next used car for the same money as the dealers pay. Go early and get yourself a catalogue. You might wonder where all these motors come from. Well, most are direct from big businesses who can't be bothered advertising in the local rag. Direct company cars are good news because they're well serviced and nobody wants to take a profit out of them. Auctions are all about absorbing as much information as you can and looking for clues. First port of call, windscreen sheet, tells you an awful lot here. I can see this is a warranted mileage at 69,000, that's good. What else have we got? Front number plate, who's the last dealer? Sit in a BMW Nottingham. Now, they're a very posh BMW outfit, which means the cars come from a good home. I can see 4 new Pirelli P6000 tyres. That's a grand's worth of rubber. Someone's put that on recently. Service history, what do we got? Full Mercedes service history. Last service, 67,000 miles, and it's got 69 on it. And it is a very pretty level car. You look down the flanks here, no dents, no ripples, no filler. Pretty old thing. So, a 1990 Mercedes-Benz 500 SEC cost £60,000 10 years ago. This is going to go for less than 10 grand, and we're going to have a punt. No major mechanical faults means that the oily bits are okay, so if the rear axle's shot, you get a refund. It's a kind of warranty that lasts 1 hour from the end of the sale. That might sound a bit of a joke, but it's enough time to check that you're not inheriting someone else's big bills. So auctions are not automobile abattoirs, but there's one big caveat: buy the latest and the lowest mileage that you can afford, and emphatically don't go near sheds and ruins like this. This 1985 C Opel Manta Berlinetta, it's all over for this car. £50 would be a good bid. All you could do with this would be whip the wheels off and use it as a little house to keep your ferrets in. As the car queues up for the haul, watch that the oil light doesn't flicker or stay on. Listen that the engine doesn't rattle like a cutlery drawer and that the exhaust isn't billowing oil-burning blue smoke. OK, time for the bidding. Now, some very important rules. Set yourself a price limit and don't go over it, and hang on the auctioneer's every word. Listen to what he says very carefully. He might be declaring that the car's been a total loss. You need to know that. You'll also have to pay around 1% on top of the selling price. That gives you good title to the car, so if anything goes wrong, you get your money back. And don't worry about scratching your nose or sneezing. You're not going to buy a car. Make clear and recognisable bids and the auctioneer will see them. Right, here comes our merc. Let's get ready. Fingers crossed.
How much is it worth? 800. 8 is on, bidding at a bid 8. 800 what? Bidding 182. 8,002 to bid at 83. The bidding's in the middle, sir. 8384. 85 and bid 8,005. 85 bid 6 and 7. 8,800 bid. 8850. 8859. 9 have got. Any further bidding the motor car? 9,000 bid. Selling once. Selling twice. And gone, sir.
Down to me, 9 grand. Good day.
4. Sitting on 4. 525 SC.
Now the disagreeable bit, paying for the thing. You can pay by banker's draft, building society cheque, switch or Delta, not credit cards, or personal cheque, but you'll have to wait for it to clear. There we go. Thank you very much. Pass out, keys, invoice, off we go. Now, even though you're not taking the car home on the day, do remember that warranty. You have 1 hour after the sale finishes to check everything over, all the major mechanicals, so get out the fine-tooth comb. Oh, and when you do come and collect, remember to get it insured. You don't want to spoil the whole experience by getting a tug from Plod. So what do I think of car auctions? Well, I bought myself a Mercedes that should retail for £15,000 for £9 grand. I am therefore V-happy. And I'm just wondering, where are we going tonight?
As we saw earlier, you can now buy a nearly new Ferrari or Lamborghini for as little as £30,000. But of course, that's a price tag that's still way out of reach of most people. Fear not though, you don't have to be a Euro MP to indulge in a bit of Italian romance, which is why I've decided to try a couple of bargain bambinos, Alfa Romeo's GTV and Fiat's Barchetta. And with the Barchetta, the fun begins with the slimmest of nail-snapping door handles. Because Fiat's limited its production to left-hand drive only, the Barchetta's cutesy slot car lines are a rare sight on British roads. But a good low-mileage 95 model can be found for around £8,000. And don't be put off by this left-hand drive thing, it's something you quickly get used to. And let's face it, when you park in the high street, you can step straight out onto the pavement.
The Fiat's retro approach is an impressive sight. Its hip-line crease stretches all the way to its pert rear end, which I'm sure a present-day Mrs. Robinson would be unable to resist. And like the young Mr. Hoffman, you're faced with a montage of seductive makeup, which will remain timeless for years to come.
But those easy-on-the-eye looks aren't matched by a classic driving experience. Barchetta means little boat, and you can soon understand why. Its main drawback is that it's front-wheel drive, yet it still retains its own all-involving little character, which makes it a lot of fun to drive. It seems to leap and jump through corners, putting a smile on your face at relatively slow speeds. But it's no slouch in the acceleration stakes. 60 comes in just under 9 seconds, thanks to its 130 horsepower, 1.8-litre engine. And remember, you can sit back and bask in the summer sun, knowing that this little Latino has cost you less than a Nissan Micra. But if the open air of the Barchetta isn't to your taste, what about the Alfa Romeo GTV?
Revealed at the Geneva Motor Show in '95, the public were transfixed by its penetrating stare and eye-watering coalition of subtle and sharp angles. And because Alfa had gained access to Fiat's bulging coffers, they were able to produce a sports car which didn't react like a sponge.
And yes, an electrical current can be found at every switch. In contrast to Alfa's set-square approach to the 1980s, the interior of this GTV harks back to the maker's glorious youth. And as with the Barchetta, you're faced with an array of cowled sportswear, including these deep-set dials. Mind you, you sadly can't expect Bavarian build quality, nor can you expect Bavarian handling, because despite the fact that all Alfas come with a glorious racing heritage as standard, they sadly now also all come with front-wheel drive. But having said that, like the Barchetta, it's still a fun-handling car. Quick steering provides an instant response and there's plenty of grip available. It's just a bit of a shame that the GTV is let down by its poor ride quality, which sends even the smallest of bumps shuddering through the chassis.
Good 96 models can be picked up for around £9,000. So, if you're looking for a last-minute steal for the summer, what better than Fiat's baby drop-top or Alfa's edgy GTV coupe?
But if we still haven't found an Italian line to suit your style, Vicky and I will be back later in the programme with something bordering on the bizarre.
At last weekend's British Grand Prix, eternal underdogs Arrows did well to qualify in 8th position. But when it came to the race, engine gremlins had the last laugh and both cars failed to finish. But then F1 isn't exactly your normal type of Sunday afternoon drive. Driving a modern Formula One car is one of the most exclusive experiences in the world. Except that this is a two-seater, so now I can have a go as well. Why a two-seater? Well, the Arrows team want to give people the F1 thrill firsthand, and I'm a prototype passenger. We're talking 3 Gs under braking, 0 to 100 in the blink of an eye, and over 200 miles an hour.
It's great because a lot of people come and watch Formula One cars race, or even the junior formulas. It's very popular for people to come and watch us race.
Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport.
Whether you start at the beginning and work your way up through different classes of motorsport, this is where you want to end up.
Arrows have been going for 22 years and still not won, but success isn't cheap. Top teams need $200 million a year to pay for everything from development to drivers. It's amazing then that Arrows have the time or money to build a two-seater, but they've a new sponsor. Their future's bright, if you get my drift. Which wasn't the way I was feeling about mine. After a quick briefing, I was a bit nervous. I raced at the weekend in a little Ginetta, and I was excited, and you get butterflies and nervousness like that. And I have that feeling, but it's an awful lot worse because I just have no concept of the actual speeds and the G-forces that are going to be whapped upon my body. Amazingly, I passed the medical. Curses. No turning back now. Do many people say that it's claustrophobic?
Yes, they do. It is very claustrophobic.
Do you provide sick bags?
Sick bags?
Is there one in here?
If you were sick in there, you'd be the first to know about it.
I so would. Arrows test driver and Formula 3000 racer Mark Webber was my chauffeur for the day. Home Jeeves and don't spare the horsepower.
It's like being on a massive, massive roller coaster ride. This is so amazing. Oh. It's going about 170 miles an hour. I'm braking so late into the chicane. Oh, go on, my son. Oh my God. I mean, I've never been so fast around these bends in my life. It's just taken off behind me. Oh my God!
I could at least comfort myself in knowing that I'd never spent so much money so quickly. Each lap cost £12,500. But hopefully it won't cost you that much when Arrows eventually opens the two-seater experience to the public. I would give £1 million to do that again.
The whole issue of speed has become a teeny-weeny bit controversial of late. And these days it's impossible to imagine a mainstream motor manufacturer building a bread-and-butter saloon capable of 100 miles an hour over the speed limit. But in 1990, Vauxhall did just that with this, the legendary Lotus Carlton.
General Motors bought Lotus back in '86, and to boost the Vauxhall brand, they let them loose on the Carlton GSI. And by 1990, they'd come up with a rear-wheel drive supercar that even 10 years later is still the fastest standard saloon in the world. The straight 6 engine grew from 3 litres to 3.6 and gained 2 turbos that boosted its power to a mighty 377 bhp and its torque to a gut-wrenching 419 pounds-foot. On the inside, it's made over like a late 80s boardroom with plenty of dark wood and black leather. Sadly, though, the dashboard is straight from a 1.8 Carlton GL. They did, however, spend money where it mattered. A 6-speed gearbox from the Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 channeled the power to the huge rear wheels through a limited slip differential. The brakes and suspension were thoroughly reworked to make sure this middle management missile stayed on the straight and narrow. Fat tyres and a mean body kit completed the transformation. At £48,000 it was double the price of the regular Carlton, but it was still half the price of anything else with that kind of performance. Performance? Well, of course, with Top Gear being a responsible motoring programme, we will have to leave the public roads to demonstrate that. So how about we find a racetrack? And when you're talking about performance, you're talking about 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, 0 to 100 in 11.5. This is mega. And of course, this was in the days when you didn't even have traction control to switch off in the first place. This engine really is mightily impressive. And with the twin turbos, there's no sudden great boost of power. It's just a constant surge that gives that massive torque figure. Although having said that, this diff is a bit on the soft side, so there's constant wheel spin from the inside rear as it scrabbles to get some grip. But it does mean there's plenty of power sliding available. Back in 1990, the car's top speed caused a national scandal. Both BMW and Mercedes had just agreed to limit their hottest cars to 155 miles an hour, yet the Carlton would easily pull another 20, putting it on par with a Ferrari Testarossa.
This is a 4-door family saloon that goes at over 175 miles an hour. Can you believe that? A family saloon. Who's the family? Mr. and Mrs. Fittipaldi. This car comes complete with a driver's ejector seat and a portaloo for the passenger.
But for police and safety groups, it was no laughing matter. For them, this car was plain dangerous, an invitation to break the law. Such was the furore, Vauxhall even decided to drop any mention of the car's top speed in its advertising. Cynics even suggested the police were upset because Vauxhall had just sold them a pup in the form of a fleet of 24-valve Senators that could only do 149 miles an hour. Cynics suggested that, but of course, we couldn't comment. But just as the Carlton broke cover, so the recession hit, and muscle cars with big price tags were just too high profile. Joyriders stole them, villains used them as getaway cars, insurers were charging premiums of £6,000, and potential customers just faded away. Yet mention the Lotus Carlton today and it still attracts enormous respect. It's that good. Best examples fetch around £25,000, shabbier ones nearer 15. As supercars go, this really is something of a bargain.
At the top of the show, I reminded Tiff of a couple of classic Italian shapes from the 80s, but there's one that's always been a favourite of mine. In the early 80s, a certain sporting marque had lost its way, but Alfa Romeo shocked the world when they unveiled a radical new design at the 1989 Geneva Motor Show. Most thought that it was a concept car that would never reach the Autostrada, but Alfa silenced their critics, and within 18 months the SZ was put into production.
Sadly, the economic crash saw the supercar bubble burst and production was limited to 1,000, with just 100 coming to the UK.
But Vix, it's a bit on the ugly side. It's rather like a shoebox on wheels.
Oh, but it is a beautiful, brutish 80s shape.
OK, if you say so.
Well, anyway, appreciation was so high that Alfa Romeo, despite the crash, decided to launch this, the convertible RZ. Bellissimo.
Shall we tango?
I'll take the lead.
On the inside, you can forget about those debatable looks and concentrate on the car's performance. Now, although Alfa Romeo and Zagato went back to the future with a rear-wheel drive platform, the SZ doesn't appear to have the venomous intent of a Ferrari or Lamborghini, as Alfa played safe with the mechanicals and installed the 210 horsepower 3-litre V6 from their aging 75 saloon. Mind you, that will send it to 60 in 7.1 seconds and on up to a maximum of 152 miles an hour. But it all feels so much quicker. A few blips of the throttle and the engine note sends your pulse racing, whilst this whole cockpit fires the imagination. The chassis is also based on a 75 floor pan, though obviously Alfa have reworked both suspension and brakes. But they've done a good job, because unlike the Testarossa that I tested earlier, the limit is much more easily accessible. Indeed, it makes every bend an agreeable invitation to provoke its zesty temperament. But not in the rain, where the SZ has some of the worst traction I've ever experienced. And on wet roundabouts, you have to be very, very careful with that right foot. Too vicious a prod. Oh, and you're sideways before you know it.
But in the wacky world of form over function, you have to learn to be forgiving, Tiff. In here, you are surrounded by a herd of hide and some lovely painted panels, but the driving position is rather awkward, and I reckon Emu was a little bit more comfortable than I am now. You need go-go gadget arms to reach some of the controls, but I'm very fond of the classic 80s straight, bolt, upright dash. I'm not too fond of the scuttle shake though, which can become rather a bore on unforgiving roads. However, it does have a soundtrack the Prodigy would be very, very proud of.
Well, there's no doubt this SZ provides a brilliant driving experience, and when you can pick one up for a little over £20,000, it's tempting indeed. It's just a shame that I can't get my head around this shape.
Tiff, maybe you should go back to the 70s when you came of age. Anyway, I'm sure that Simon and Yasmin will agree with me that this is an inspired choice. Which reminds me, I didn't tell you I met Depeche Mode last week.
No more!
No, Tiff, I'm finished. No, wait.
Next week, the rise and rise of Jaguar, from E-Type to Formula One.
Another fine collection of Mickey taking with Alistair McGowan coming up on BBC One at 10. BBC Two's off to the snooker next.